begin to. Welcome, everyone. Good evening and good afternoon. Welcome to the Couples Corner. Yeah, man, this is our special edition, still called Pillow Talk. And once you're inside the building, you know what? We got to keep doing what we normally do. So grab your phone, go ahead and share the program this evening. We have an interesting topic to raise upon this evening. So tell your friends to come on over and be a part of this wonderful reasoning and discussion that we'll be having this evening. Go ahead and invite somebody. Tell them we are live and we are going to get out here. Blessed afternoon to you, Lady Andrea Holness. We are Andrea Reed, sorry. I wonder where is Andrea Holness. I wonder where she is.
Somewhere in Jamaica.
Somewhere perhaps in Jamaica. You know, or perhaps in the skies on her way back to come back to the people in the country. Maybe that's where she is heading out here. But good afternoon to you, Lady Andrea Reed. We wanted to go ahead and share the program. Invite others. We are going to be short, quick, and spicy this week. So I need to come into the place and make way. Whole a reason. But until then, you don't know. Let's go back to the 90s. Reggae lovers rock.
The way the system there's no hope, no chance, no loophole.
You know, I'm going to just pull it up right here. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. If you just rock and come in, no rock and come in at the place. Because you don't know. But you someone dropped. You drop two more out there. Yeah, you know, I think we should drop two more for real. But you know what? We will drop two more in the middle of this program today. So, yeah, man, we just want to get right ahead into our start this evening. And I'll start with a small little reason. We plan not to be as long as we normally be. But we want to get to the point. I know this is Resurrection Sunday for a lot of persons, and people are home chilling and talking with their spouses. I could even to sit down and reason then. So we're going to be reasoning. I got some wonderful people inside the studio here this evening to come on inside and hold a reason with us this evening. So first of all, the discussion that we want to be having this evening is surrounded and centered around the whole issue of domestic violence and what are the approaches. You know, how do I know that I am actually being abused? Because most times persons leave domestic violence up to when persons start get beaten and knock and start get the fisting. But is there any other sign that we can use to determine if one is being abused? And that's what I want to talk with my very capable audience this evening. And so I have invited two wonderful ladies to join me, plus one wonderful gentleman, because most times when we are talking about abuse, we left it for the ladies them. And we are saying that abuse anywhere is abuse everywhere. And we are saying anyone facing abuse is just about representing everyone who is experiencing that kind of thing. So that's what we want to have the discussion around this evening. So I'm getting ready to invite my team. So may I ask my gentleman who not turn up his camera good yet to line up, because Robdons ready and we're ready to get going this evening. But without any further ado, I am getting ready to invite in the place the wife of Mr.
Lyn.
Mr. Lyn. Yeah, man. Mother of
Baby Jordan.
Jordan. Absolutely. And she is a teacher by profession. Yeah, man. And she hails from the wonderful country of the United Kingdom. Yeah, man. She is Jamaican born And if it is now UK time and she up, at bedtime. But nonetheless, let me go ahead and invite our first guest this evening, Lady Trinell Lyn. Yeah. So Trinell Lyn is in the place. All right.
Good night, good night, good night.
Welcome, Lady Lyn.
Hail from the beautiful country of Jamaica, yeah.
Mister.
All right. So that's Lady Lyn on this end. All right. Next up this evening, we have, the counselor. She is no other than the mother of.
Lady Kimberly and Emily.
So why we never call Emily first? Watch you know.
Start with the firstborn.
So we're going to start with the first one. All right, good. So we have her in the building. She is an accountant also by profession. So we just want people to know so she know if you handle the
fully
money.
Qualified.
And when she talk about the money, she's ready to be in here. So yeah, we have in the place none other than Lady Paula on the chain. The counselor. Come on up in the place. Yep.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Awesome. So wonderful. We are looking good this evening. All right. And I have just one more person to join us this evening. I'm having a bit of technical difficulty. So I'm just going to talk out so I can't hear what we are saying. Sir, you might just need to log off and log back on. All right, and make sure that you enable your camera when you're coming on. Yeah, enable cameras. Maybe that's why we're not seeing you. All right, so yeah, man. So until you get into the place, we want to start the whole matter of the discussion. So let me just start out, Lady Trinell. Let me just throw this out to you. What constitutes to domestic violence? What really is domestic violence? What really is abuse? To share with me your views on this very serious topic.
I'm really ready for this topic tonight. Because this one is a very prevalent one. So domestic violence, I want to share a definition from the Women's Aid UK. Their definition for domestic abuse or domestic violence. And they've defined it as any incident or pattern of incident of controlling, coercive, threatening, degrading, and violent behavior. And that includes as well sexual abuse or sexual violence. And it's usually by a partner or an ex-partner, but it can also be extended to a family member. Now, this definition again, I know Lady Paula is going to come in, and it's quite expansive because at first, growing up, you hear about domestic violence, you just hear about the beating and the physical aspect of it, the bruises and all of that. But now we can see where the controlling aspect, the unseen aspect of it, is actually included in the definition. So for me, that's something that any of these abusive attitude or action been done to a male or female that is repetitive and is done with the intent to harm.
Wow. So we are moving then away from the traditional understanding of just physical abuse, but we're sort of taking some other aspect in mind. I don't know if your definition also included the whole matter of neglect, for I somehow think that God included that as abuse, and there's no righteous way for there's no righteous explanation for neglect, not even prayer and fasting. this is so important now that we point this out, because even Paul shared where if you're going to enter into evil fasting, as much as fasting, your spouse is so valuable that this must be at their consensus. So it's almost like you need to get their consent, which is almost like telling you actually need permission. But there's actually no reason that support all the matter of neglect. So some of the times I think that and I'm going to pull in Lady P here, that sometimes the physical abuse sometimes are not upfront. It's not just that, but there are other things that happen. For example, someone gets upset and mad and they avoid you for the rest of the weekend or the next two months. No reasoning, no talking. There can't be any discussion over the matter. And sometimes people don't know that this is actually a form of abuse. It's something that is affecting someone psychologically, mentally, and also emotionally. So let me bring in Lady Paula to come in and talk on that part for me.
Yes. So, Chanel, can everyone hear me?
Yep, sure.
Yeah. So the description that Lady Chanel gave, it's a very good description because it covered a lot of things on our domestic violence. But just let's say domestic abuse is not love, and I think I said this before on the other program. It's not love. It's where one person in the relationship has power and control over the other person, and it crosses the line to more than just the physical aspect. It goes to the emotional abuse and the economic abuse and the psychological and actual abuse. And like she said, that even when it comes to sex, a lot of sexual abuse, a lot of people may think because you're in a marriage it's not possible, but that's also a factor there depending on the type of relationship, the tumultuous relationship. So that's basically my take on that.
I came across this article. It said the title is "God Hates Abuse" by Chad Ashby, and he said that he basically kind of gave his definition of abuse, and he said abuse is when a marriage crosses the line from relationship to enslavement. So he says marriage is meant to reflect Christ and the church, which we all know this as it is in the we can find that in the word Ephesians 5:32 and stuff. However, when the picture begins to look like Pharaoh and the Israelites, there is a serious problem. Then he said, a woman beaten, verbally assaulted, cut off from friends, and or financially isolated is no longer a wife but a slave. Abuse can be hard to discern, which is why pastors absolutely must get other counselors, authorities, and victim advocates involved.
Well, and that explanation is quite comprehensive to add to what we are actually talking about. I like the whole matter of bringing in the financial part, because sometimes people, we use the fact that we have certain resources, so it's as if we withhold. It's almost a relationship like Russia versus the West. So you're not acting good. And so we instill a lot of what we call sanctions on you, and one of such sanctions is to withhold the normal provision that you would actually have. So if a woman or a gentleman is going through one of this, and they come talk about the financial part, I wonder if the man them can also be abused financially. So I will come talk about the part right there. So, but if the woman for now is going through that, this is something you want to detect, recognize that this is not a healthy relationship. This is not good. and something needs to be done about it. And we're gonna get into talking about what can be done about these things, because most time nothing is done. People just sit down and accept, and oh, this is my marriage, or this is no marriage, no perfect, and we just sit down and we just weather the storm, right? And this is then what leads to other things, because the more secret you keep, the more you sit down and enjoy and behave as if you can't do anything about it, and you will not demand anything better, then what you say to the other person is that it is okay for you to treat me like this. It is okay for you to talk to me like this. And most persons do this, and I love the fact that Daniel mentioned about the Bible. Most persons do this, and their support is the Bible. Now, I'm going to let you know, this Bible does not support the abuse of anyone. In fact, one of the things that we also know about this wonderful Bible is that where the Bible speaks about masters and servants, the Bible advocates for you to treat them justly and fairly. Not to mention your spouse, you should be treating them justly and fairly. So let me throw it out there. I want to find out if a woman can abuse a man financially. Who's responding to that? I don't understand how my. Where's my
Go ahead,
audience?
Lady D.
Yes. What do you tell us?
Well, I want to talk. Can a woman abuse a man financially?
Well, in the case of domestic abuse, yes,
Mm-hmm.
that's possible, and it does happen. For example, if the woman is trying to be spiteful and abusive to the man, and the relationship becomes a separation, then the woman can consistently use the children as pawn to get more money out of the man through the court system. And a lot of times those are the things that, cause the man to feel broken, because even though he's paying, he still constantly asks to give more and more and more, just because of that abusiveness in that woman. So yes,
That's
that's
so true.
possible. Again, if the woman makes more than the man and she's an aggressive woman and she's like a bully, yeah, she can do that. She can use her financial status to do that, to command the man to do things that she wants him to do, even when the man is already doing a lot. And when I say do, I mean, like, say for example, the man is not the one who is bringing home the bacon, you know she can just abuse him, like, different ways, like withhold money in terms of you know taking care of the bills, or all of those things. Just use it over his head to say, or you always bring it up. It comes in the verbal form to say, well, listen, I'm the one who is working around here. I'm the one who is paying the bills around here. And it keeps saying that I. And that is traumatic for a man, because, men, they always want to be sure that they're the ones who are leading the house, which what that's what the word of God said. But unfortunately, sometimes it goes the other way around. So yes, that can happen.
I agree with Lady Paula, because, and this is something that I've seen in lots of relationships and marriages, where because women, at times we know that the man's ego can be easily robbed. So we tend to use it to say, well, I'm going to expose you to your friends, or expose you to the family or to the community. And that can, just create all of that anxiety and unnecessary pressure to demand more. But I have seen where in the marriage, the woman would actually make the statement to say, but you're only giving this much. So I'm just asking for just a little bit more. And not, as Lady Paula said, looking at the fact that, well, maybe you're earning more, or maybe it's just the fact that he just cannot afford it. But because we are in this society where it is something that is sort of like it praised when a female would say, well, my husband is looking after me or my husband does that, and the competition coming from within that circle of females can add that unnecessary pressure, which can lead into that financial abuse.
Wow. Wow. And thank you so much for commenting on that, ladies. Lady Camille is nicing me up now. We say she can rob him of his own money by telling him lies to get more. But I don't know if you guys mentioned about the whole matter of some women do take men to court, and they are making some demands that them know to God say the man can't meet it. You know that you have a mindset that you're sending this man to prison. Because even if the judge permits, because sometimes I do think that these judges are more lean to supporting females, which I think there's a space for that as well. But when it comes on to natural justice, sometimes that can be so absent where it concerns the men. And so these women will make these demands because, yes, the child is within the right to get a certain amount of things. But you might also know that that man is also trying to put up a structure to live, to move away from, maybe paying rent or whatever the reason is. And you're just going to be vindictive because you have to put a stop to everything that he tries. And that can really just be difficult. So women also abuse men financially. And we are saying that if this is something that is happening, it's something worth us detecting early and develop ways how to deal with these things. So where financial abuse is concerned, sometimes what may be needed is a lesson on budgeting. Sometimes it's a lesson on finances. So there are avenues that the couple should proceed to. And one of the things that persons want to hold on and why they keep quiet most time in abuse. And we're talking about this earlier, Lady Paula, where people want to stay because it sounds like if I do something about it, I'm trying to destroy my marriage.
Yeah.
No. Just getting the thing fixed doesn't mean that you're automatically in a divorce. A divorce perhaps should be the last thing that are the last resort, because really it just doesn't bring any resolution. It just say, hey, we have tried everything, we have tried every single avenue, and there's nothing else that we can do. And suffice to say that because people don't know that there are other mediums, this is why we have persons who think the very first thing that we need to do once there's a marriage that is not working is for us to either tough it out or we head straight to the divorce. All right. But there are things that a woman can do, a man should do, a couple should do in order to highlight these things and look at how we can correct these things. So let me just weigh back to my audience and say, just talk to me now. How do we deal with the matter of divorce? So now we have recognized that there's emotional abuse, and I just there's maltreatment in some form. Someone is being affected. And by just maltreatment, I'm just saying that somebody's not sleeping good at night. Somebody no longer feels good about themselves. Someone is being unfairly cheated out of their resources. Somebody feels neglected and like they are not worthy, they are not good enough. What are the different steps? What do we do to move to an amicable resolution? How can that marriage be saved? Can that marriage be helped? And what are the steps to helping that marriage?
Am I supposed to be the one to talk?
Of course.
No, I heard Rev said he's throwing it out to the audience. So I was waiting for a
No.
comment.
No. I am in it out to come here to talk with me this evening. So
All right.
just
So,
yes.
okay. So, in the setting of, in terms of a marriage, because a lot of times domestic violence extends to different relationships. But so in the case of a marriage, say for example, I'm a pastor because I have to use someone. Say I'm a pastor and a member comes to me and said that I'm being beaten or I've been held captive or been my husband is starving me and the children. He puts me outside to sleep. He shouts in my face. He calls me names. He humiliates me in front of people. He constantly does things to me that are very degrading. He forces me to do sexual activities that are against the word of God or against my will. I would not say, go home and pray and try working your marriage out. That wouldn't be something that I would say as a pastor. I would say the first thing I would do is to make sure that that person is safe with her and her children, and then I would seek to counsel the woman and the man. And I would do that separately. I wouldn't do that together. I would do it separately to understand the different dynamic of what is going on. So then when the person who has the issue or just both of them, just to make sure that, I hear the story correctly or I understand what's going on, then I'll bring them together when the person who is the power and control abuser and find out if he really wants this relationship to work, let's work together in a counseling session. And maybe I wouldn't advise any pastor to do that. I mean, they can come in with the spiritual aspect of it, but there are some major issues within marriages that don't even have anything to do with spirituality. It's just there are some other things that gets incorporated into that relationship that cannot be dealt with like that. You know what I mean? So they need external people to talk to them about it. Someone who is not, what the word is, subjective. You know what I mean? Where they can be honest in front of that person who doesn't know them and work on it. Because, for example, if the man has anger issue and needs anger management or something, the pastor's just going to pray and he can go through the word. But a lot of times that doesn't even work because guess what? It's someone who is familiar with. Sometimes anger problems land you in prison, in jail. So even the court can force you to go and get anger management training with a counselor. So if this escalates into the law where the woman goes and get a restraining order, because that's a part of the process. You have to get a restraining order that wherever you are, he's not able to come there a certain amount of feet. And if all of those things are involved, then he has to stay away and get himself together. And if it's the woman who is doing it, a man can also file a restraining order. I don't want men to think that they can't do the same thing because they can do the same thing. And the woman has to stay away until they go to court and the court decides what is the next step. And if they don't want to do it that way, then they can work with their pastor. But I would definitely, the first thing that I always shoot for when I deal with this, it's always safety first. In all cases, safety first, and then counseling later.
Yeah. I'm gonna take out a restraining order on you.
Yeah. First.
All right. Right. So some very key points there coming out, and I love the point, and this is something I have always nailed myself, is that it's first to be safe. You are no good to anybody being dead.
Yeah.
That's just the first thing. You are no good to anyone being overly depressed, overly hurt, feeling bad about yourself. You can't help nobody because you need help first. And this is why I think I think over time in our culture, we have begun to just embrace some things and pat some things on the shoulder and just turn a blinded eye on it. No, you are a person.
Yeah.
You should feel good about yourself. And I'm starting with the emotional part because sometimes it's the word that we say. Sometimes your spouse is the one making you know, so you don't look good, and you know this, and you know that, and speaking down to you. If you are feeling so much less of yourself. Something need to be done. First thing might be that you need to raise this as a concern with your spouse. But if no resolution is in there, you need to get someone to address it. The Bible put it this way, perhaps, is to get a witness or get the elders to talk to him. Well, we can contextualize this to say that there is the need for that third party. So for persons who are saying, why we don't want no counseling, we do need that third party influence, that person to come in and hold a reason. And it got to be more than praying, because if it were just praying, you could have stayed anywhere you're there and pray. But as Lady P said, sometimes there are some practical things that prayer is going to help the counselor to see and to be able to come up with the right method and the right suggestion to address it. But it's not just laying hands and cursing the demons. You will have to do something else about it. All right. What I'm going to do, I'm going to flip back quickly to a question asked by Sweet Pea, because we want to make sure we're capturing our audience's comment. And she said, how can an educated lady deal with an abuser? I don't know why we just say educated lady, because it's just how can a lady in general deal with an abuser?
I guess she used educated because she's saying this person is supposed to be smart enough. Okay.
Help me to understand. How can she lead a department of people yet accept verbal abuse? And there are several readers, Lady Sweet Pea. there are several reasons. Sometimes, and this is just my tip. Sometimes you see this marriage thing is touchy in a lot of churches. No one wants to know, even in domains where people accept divorce as a normal recourse. No one wants to be the person who is actually going through the sense of divorce. Sometimes fear of the thing escalating to a divorce, and fear of being able, having to get to a point where you have to tell somebody that the marriage not working out. And we must understand that women enter into a relationship, and it's a whole big thing. It's not just men who go in. I think women put a lot when they're starting up a relationship. They invest a lot into what they say. So when they're telling their friends about this person, the person, most of them nice, and them, him have the banana kind of legs, and when he smile and when he says these things, he blows me away, and I feel like I'm in heaven and I don't want to come. No woman really wants to go back and openly say to your friends that, hey, it didn't work out. It's not working out. It's not what I think. And sometimes just their perception of what might happen make them feel like them can't tell nobody. So them big and strong out the road, but in their houses, they are just trying to survive another day. So those are some of the reasons. I'll just throw it out to my audience. They'll probably tell me what's going on.
Do you want me to take a stab? I know. Go ahead, Lady Trinell. I'll allow you to talk.
I was going to say that, first of all, as ladies, we tend to wear many hats. And our professional hat is not necessarily the one we're going to be wearing at home. So first we have to realize that we are a person, we are someone before the profession came into play. And it's just being honest with ourselves in that sense to seek the help. Yes, it can happen to the boss in the business, the CEO or the COO, and yes, they go home to experiencing the abuse. I've had leaders who've done that, right? And experience such things. So it's the honesty within ourselves to know that we're first human being before our professional hats. We're human before we're white. I'm God's child before I'm a wife. And I'm God's daughter before I'm also a mother. to know that. And once I can think along that lines, I know, well, if something comes up that makes me uncomfortable in whatever way, shape, or form, obviously it's not an easy thing to run for help immediately, but I should be thinking within myself, I need help.
All right. So let me put it in this perspective. And the characteristic of an abused woman, sometimes
Um,
these are some
these are
different
some different
things that
things that
I hear
I
an
see. I
echo
hear an
in
echo.
my mind. So what am I doing? It's good. All right. So most of the time we look at the abused woman as a low self-esteem person, a poor self-image person. But there's one research that says women with little education who married young and have small children may indeed be a greater risk of abuse. However, women from all walks of life are susceptible to abuse, even those who are highly educated, talented, and socially el- elites. And imagine this. Not because the person is educated doesn't mean that the person doesn't have an image issue. Not because the person is educated doesn't mean that the person cannot be controlled by another person. It has nothing to do with education, to be honest. The only reason why the statistic brings women in who has no education is because most of the time they're depending on the man to take care of them and the children. So that's why. But overall, all women are susceptible to domestic violence. It depends on the partner that they choose. You see what I mean? It doesn't have anything to do with your education, because you would think, oh, your education is going to give you wisdom to say it's time for you to leave. No, I have heard about women who were so educated, they're in society, their husbands are mayors, they're all sorts of things, but yet they're still getting abused. So it has nothing to do with the education at all. It's just the relationship that the person ends up being in. Is that the decision that the person made?
And I just want to weigh in right where you made that point, Lady P, because I think sometimes we bring it down to where the physical abuse is taking place, and that's where we put the weight and why she's staying. But there are some women who can't speak freely. Their spouse will shut them up. And this is also in our church circle. Oh, I'm touching a big one now. There's some first ladies who can talk, can object, and some are manipulated because if I can make you think a demon will come knock you over just because you violate the man of God. That's a way. So people use different ways of manipulating and control. So abuse is about power and control. And so if you're an individual, you can be controlled by someone you find influential, by someone you find or you think is certainly important to you as well. So it's one, it's image sometimes. Two, sometimes it's that whole matter of manipulation, the whole matter of being controlled by someone. Um, you know, there are some really people are, here's another abuse. When you can't disagree with your spouse, that's an abuse. You can't openly and willingly or in however way you want to do it with wisdom and of course respect and say, I don't think the trajectory that you go on or what you did was actually right. There are some spouses who can't do that. And that is a sign of abuse. If you can't be a person, oh Lord have mercy, you are being abused. All right. So just to just put out there, it doesn't matter what your education level is. It doesn't matter how anointed you are and how gifted you think you are. Don't matter how the prophetic rolling over you. And you're diving in the apostolic. And you know what? It is women who have things to lose most time who get abused. Because you know what? You can't go down a church, go make nobody know. So you're glad to put on a little makeup over the mark. Nobody see. Because I have an image to protect. So that's where this is. And I'm seeing Lady Jacqueline is adding to that. She says, fear of the unknown may allow someone to stay in an abusive relationship. Of course, you know, you have some people just now start over. It's like, you know, they're not married yet, because I think it's a little bit more, you know, we have to give more thought to it in case of a marriage. But even persons who are not married yet, fear of having to start over, just know something, I've got to start one next relationship, cause people to say, hey, I'm just going to take this. And what I'm saying is that most of the abuse that continue over time is because we have gotten to the place where we start accepting it. We're saying it's cool, it's okay. You know, this is our relationship. We make excuses for it. No relationship is perfect. Anytime a woman keep uttering no relationship is perfect, if you call one of your best friend and every time you ask him how's marriage going and the only utterance is no relationship is perfect, it's a sign of somebody in a trouble and need to investigate. It's true. We all know no relationship is perfect. But if only time you can explain, and the only way you can express how the relationship is going is, why? No relationship not perfect, yeah, but we are going. We they try to go through. That's a person who is unhappy. That's a person who is struggling. That's not a sign of a happy relationship. So we're gonna have to look around and start detecting. Sweet Pea saying, are these women afraid of being, yeah, some people don't want to become alone again. You know, you have, and sometimes, Lady P, can I add that there are some great successful women who start relationship, career-driven women, who start relationship late, where they just think the man them done, because they were running through and doing everything else in life, and so the man them done and they get one little piece of chop together, man, and this man start to talk down and box them around, and them sit down and take it, and a dear money, dear house, dear car, dear every single thing, and then dare not open them out and say something. Because I don't want to be alone again. And you know, if this don't work out, me now go have no more money. And you know how long me have to spend to get one little man to settle down with. I'm getting old. Nobody don't want any old woman. And if I start the relationship over, I'm not even going to get those children. And though I have gone and freeze the eggs, I'm getting 50. It's not going to work out. It's too late. And so these are some things why people keep settling in a relationship. All right? Maybe I just come from a family of women who are extremely vocal, not abusive, but we will make our points. And most of the men in the family structure are quite tight that don't cause much fuss. So mine are cowing down the men, you know, Lady Sweet Pea. The man cowing down the men. But that's good. And I think what's coming out there is your culture, it's your upbringing that is coming out here. Somebody taught you, believe it or not, to be vocal. So some persons who we're saying are introverts just never get a chance to talk. They were just not told that they can express themselves. Sometimes it's just fear of what people are going to think, why people don't speak up and say certain things. So when you came from a culture where people accept that one must talk and talk on the mind. Why even entertain those type of men, period? Why men with red flags there early on? Oh Lord. Let me throw this one out here. Let the woman them tell me why them entertain. Why would you entertain those kind of men? Trinell, talk to me. We hear what
I mean, even though we call things red flags, when depending on whatever the influence is or whatever is causing that woman to get in that relationship. You're oftentimes blinded by so many things that the female will never, even if they've seen things, they're so, sometimes we can describe it as they're so in love or they're so infatuated or they're so busy with all the niceties that's coming their way that they are failing to see the red flag. And someone from the outside can say, well, why didn't you pick that up earlier? Or how did you miss that? And again, it's easier for someone who is on the outside looking into that relationship to see it and to say, why aren't you doing better? Or why didn't you make a better decision? And sometimes the female can be a little bit hard headed, tough headed, and warning signs are given. Friends or family may try to give advice and they shun it because depending on the culture as well. I know in some family or some generation or some groups, people may say, well, you just don't want me to find love or you don't want me to be happy, you know? And so some of those things can cause a person to enter despite the red flags, you know, until things can get really, really bad where that person wants to turn around. And it is such a delicate topic when we talk about abuse in any way, shape, or form, because anyone on the outside can always, we can always just point our finger, you know, we can always just point our finger and to say, why didn't you see that, why didn't you? But again, regardless of where the red flag came into perspective for that person, we have to learn to be very supportive in getting that person into safety, as we've discussed earlier.
Yeah, yeah, and yeah, there are several reasons why um people settle. Some people settle because it's the way now. The man was good to me then. I feel obligated. Or same thing with a woman on the other hand. She was good to me. She used to do all of this for me. And so you feel a sense of obligation. That's one reason. And so from time to time, people will say we can't move on because moving on would sound like you're ungrateful, like you're like you don't appreciate what people have done for you. And so people don't want that, you know. People don't want to look at the current issue, you know. And we have some culture people too where tell us to look back when things used to go on good. Don't make the decision now. Says as if no, you know, what you're going through doesn't matter. It's just what you've done for me in the past. These are some reasons too. Some people stay in the abusive relationship because of what them can get. You know, I am living in a big house just because I live in a big house and an uptown. And if me go left this a relationship, yeah, everybody when me used to tell me have jacuzzi, I go no say we live in our house without jacuzzi. I'm now sharing space. So there are different things that causes women and men to feel like they must remain in an abusive relationship. But the question is, what now that they're there, I think the greatest thing we need to do this evening is help people to detect when they're in an abusive relationship. And I think we have spoken at length. We have spoken about the whole matter of emotion. Anything that makes you uncomfortable, you can't openly express yourself, you can't be yourself. You have to, you basically have to, you can't talk about it, you can't express yourself. In that relationship, you're being hurt, you're being abused some way or the other. These are signs of abuse, and it's a sign that you need to get out. And I think church people are so, church people have a way to grow crocodile skin that them don't know when them get abused. We get so righteous in our thinking that it is the devil. It's not the devil, it's your husband. Sorry, it's your wife too.
So
It's not them.
You know, see, look over here.
Oh, look over. See, this is abuse. I can't even look where I want to look.
I
But it's
have
you. Yeah, come on in, lady.
sometimes that there are no signs, and this is what I have heard from the women who were actually abused and are in the shelter. Most of the time when they come to me, they said, the relationship started out so great. We were in love. We were doing things together. He was a good man. I don't know what happened, but he started, calling me names, cursing me out, and then it moves from the verbal to the physical. So it's not all the time there are red flags. But one thing I know, once the abuse starts with the verbally, such as name calling and degrading and all of those different things, the person who is in the relationship should take note of those things. And then, especially if it moves up to violence, then you need to leave at that point. And I'm not advising any woman to leave while that person is there, because that would be very dangerous for that woman, because that's when the abuser's um, temper escalates, to say you're not going to leave me. Because can you imagine, you are the person who he says he has power and control of. So you never want to leave when the abuser is at home. You want to leave when he's not there. You want to make preparation. There's actually a proper way of leaving. It's called a safety plan.
So we're going to talk some more about that safety plan a little later from this, because we want those who need to escape. We want to escape safe. We want to not escape with no head on the body. All right. And in your body completely together. But joining us is the one and only prophet. Joining us inside of the reasoning. And as him coming, me have a topic to toss to him. By the way, guys, I'm working on this wonderful book called Hold Your Breath. And you should know then why prophet need to be here. So, prophet, there are some, and I'm just gonna go and talk about some abuse that comes from women too. Always constantly accusing you of cheating. Lord have mercy, man. I don't know if we see this as abuse, but I don't know if some people know when you're trying to walk right and walking at the straight and narrow pathway, and all you can hear about is ya gibbon, ya gibbon, ya gibbon, you the gibbon, you the gibbon. That takes a whole toll, and some are gonna make the prophet talk about that. And we see if we can ride that in and just talk about his own experience. Come in, prophet, talk to it. I talk about domestic violence and abuse and all this. And we want the people them know, say the man them get abused too, and you know what I mean. Yeah, come represent.
Good evening, everybody. How are you doing, everybody?
Yeah,
It's
man.
it's a very intriguing topic, as you know, and it's a very hot debate topic as well. And this is something very serious that has been happening for years now, right? It's nothing new, right? It's something that has been going on for years, and many persons have experienced abuse of all sorts, right? And many are experiencing abuse even now, and many will experience abuse. So abuse will never be erased until Jesus comes, right? So that's one thing we must keep in mind, right? And so we are accustomed to hearing mostly women stories, and and I must confess that in my early stage of counseling, right, I I was drawn easily into hearing the stories of women, because there is always that soft part in men's heart as soon as they hear stories about what women are going through. They will directly and indirectly take side with the women, right? Because it's that most of us love our mothers and our sisters. So it's like there's always that protective side of us as men, right? And so I'm guilty of that, where at times women would come with their side of the story, And even if I did not say it in my mind or in my heart, I would say to myself, what a wicked man. What a wicked man. What a wicked guy. Right? And until I heard the other side of the story, I scratched my head and said, God, what if I had caused a judgment or had said anything about that gentleman? Then it would be a different story. So I must confess that I'm guilty of that in the past, where I listened to one side of the story and draw conclusion, right? And one thing I learned in life is that there's two sides to every story. Always remember. And the next thing, do not let your emotions get the better of you when you are listening to very devastating stories, right? Because you will be tempted to draw a conclusion and pick side and even make incorrect comments about our conclusion or assessment based on the situation, right? So I've learned that as well. But let's get to the point of abuse now. Abuse comes in so many different forms, and most of the time we look at the most dominant aspect to abuse of our domestic violence, where we heard about persons getting cut, shot, beaten, etc. But there's also the emotion part of abuse, the psychological aspect, and also the mental aspect, right? And a lot of persons have been in relationships where they have been abused verbally, and that verbally abuse actually, or most of the time, comes from insecurity, right? Insecurities. Because a lot of us who enter into relationships, we had bad past, terrible experiences in the past of previous relationships. So it's like there's that thing that lodges in the mind where after you enter into a relationship, it's hard for you to let go of that experience, because it's like that experience is that it put a mark on you and put you on your guard. So no matter how spiritual you think you are, or how anointed you think you are, that is a demon that a lot of us have to fight. The experience in the past, and we bring it into our previous relationships. And so if you were in a relationship where your previous partners, they cheated on you, the next person you talk to, remember, you're going to have lock and key on them, and you're going to have two extra eyes watching them and monitoring them. Even stuff that you did not used to do, you will start to do it now, because you're trying to prevent those past experiences to reoccur, right? So it will be like extra caution, and also it will even cause you to even start to, and most of the time is the person who you're with now, you get the chance to vent at, because the persons who really scar you, the person who really hurt you, you could not get the opportunity to catch those persons, to vent at them, So it's like the person who you're with right now, that person get all the anger that was in you, that you have been carrying from the previous relationships, our relationship. So most of the time is our previous partners, they are the victims of all the anger that has been in us, and we just vent at them whenever there are some situations, right? And I've seen in relationship, I will soon get to my personal experiences, right? I've seen in relationship also where partners, both husband and wife, monitor each other phones, right? Monitor who call them, monitor who text them, monitor how often they stay on their phone, the length of time on their phone, and monitor how which person calling them and how often that person do call, and the reason for the phone calls, right? And it's like you're in a relationship, but you are not you have not been treated as a big woman, and you have not been treated as a big man. It's like you're in a relationship, but you have been treated as a boy or a girl, right? Because it seems like you do not have a husband or a wife, you have a mother and a father, right? And so that is abuse, and we overlook those simple things, but those are abuse. And there are other abuse as well. For example, where everywhere your partner goes is like you need details of every single thing that transpire. You don't need details of everything that transpire. Remember that he's not your son, and she's not your daughter. You don't need details, right? And this is as a result of trust, lack of trust. Lack of trust will cause you to go to the extra mile where you want to know details. It's like when you're in school and we're in English class, and we have given a certain topic to write on, and the teacher said that, oh, give me details, right? So some persons are like that. You simply tell your partner that, hon, I'm going to the supermarket. When you return, which supermarket you went to, why you stay so long, why when I was calling your phone I did not get you in time, why I heard that funny noise in the background, why I heard other females in the background. Come on, those are also abuse, right? I don't care how other person look at it, it's abuse, right? And
But Prophet, I think we have to balance the conversation, do you? And I get the point that you're making about and I want to make sure that persons actually hear what we're actually saying, because you did mention about if persons want details. I think it's also true that if I don't provide my wife any details, I make it feel like she don't need to know my business, like my personal business. I think that's also abuse as well. So I think we have to balance the conversation. But I think I know what exactly you're talking about. You're talking about the whole thing that leads to a sense of accusation. So while trust is important in a relationship, we have to help to build that sense of trust as well. And so, I mean, I think that once we get into a marriage, I'm obligated to share with my wife if I'm about to make a trip and I'm going somewhere. I don't think it's okay for me just to tell my wife that I'm going to New York and that's final. I think that's manipulating her. You know what I mean? I mean, she is my next of kin for a reason. So if something happened, people know who to call. She's my next of kin for a reason, because she needs to be able to be she have the requisite details and information that should something happen, she can provide detailed information. Let's look at it this way. If something should happen and I went on a trip and something happened to me, who would be the first person who should detect something wrong? It should be her, because she would have understand my modus operandi. I think that we have to really
I understand that. I was heading to that part. I was going to make the balance that in a relationship we are accountable to each other. You know, accountability is a must. But I was just looking at the aspect of relationship where it's beyond accountability.
I think you're talking about power and control. Yeah.
Power and control.
Yeah, right. So that's
and the next thing that causes abuse in relationship is this. And a lot of people overlooked it. When one person is having a better income than the other person, and one person income sometimes 10 times, 5 times the amount of the other person. So a lot of relationships now, persons who earn more and is doing far more, right, in the relationship financially, they most of the time they feel as if they have more anger in the relationship, right? And I always remember this in the scripture, the two shall what? Become one. So if the two shall become one, if you are earning 50,000, I'm earning 10, the two become one. So we earn what? 60,000. I don't know how persons look at it, because we read the scripture and we actually don't even understand the term when the Bible said the two become one. It's like we become one. It's not two anymore. It's not your car anymore. It's not your house anymore. That's why I tell people, before you enter into marriage, know what you're going into and know what God said about marriage. If you're going to approach marriage the halfway, going the halfway, and you put your flip to what God is saying, well, it doesn't work. The Bible said the two become one, right? We understand that I did not go to college. None of us go to college with each other and study hard to get our degrees and to get our good jobs. Yes, we understand all that. But when you enter into marriage, the two become one. We understand that your gifting is not my gifting, and you did not give me my gifting to earn a lot of money. Yes, we understand all of that. But the two become one. So everything we acquire, it is for us. Not me, not you, us. And
But
if you go,
prophet, I think we have to balance the conversation, because I don't want persons to think. I mean, this has to be a mutual agreement between both persons. It can't just be that I'm married to one. My wife worked hard and had everything, and we come to relationship, and me come now. I come bad manner. I make sure know say, we married now. Everything. I think we have to widen the discussion on two becoming one. And I think that's where our objective, our goal become one. We are pursuing things now together. But I don't want to make it look like we can come hijack my wife things. I think
no.
I think we can. Yeah, but what I want to do is that you nail the point from the context that as we are approaching marriage, this is our thinking. We're thinking that we're coming together for a general good, for the union, for this relationship to be successful, for this marriage to be successful, which means that we're going to have to pool our resources together to get it done. So it's not my bill, it's us working through to get this done. And the reality is that sometimes it can be 50-50, sometimes a 5-10, because based on what me earn versus what somebody has earned. In one sense, it might be 5-10, but I might be earning more, but the person have more time that they're dedicating to something else. So I think we really just need to widen that discussion. I think the discussion needs to really just be, we need to have that level of dialogue in our relationship, in our union, that we see how we are operating as a team, and we not operate like Pharaoh and the Israelites.
Exactly, and because of lack of understanding where marriage is concerned and responsibilities and commitment, etc., it leads to what? Abuse. So that's the reason why a lot of marriages have so many abuse, where persons, if you listen, a lot of partners speak to each other these days, it's like even godly marriages that we should look up to, that should be modeled to the world. If you look at how, even as how leaders, I will start from us, even how leaders, how they how they how they approach marriage and how the relationship that they have with their partner, even public, is like you can know when it's a show from when it is genuine. It's like then if we are looking at people who we lead and we want to set example for them, then when they look at our marriage, it should be something that they want to emulate. And they said, wow, I love how my leaders live. I love how they treat each other in public and outside, how they speak to each other, how they communicate, etc. So it's like even a lot of us as leaders, our marriages are no example to the world or to the congregation or to the society, right? and I see that as something that we as leaders must buckle up on and just improve in that era, because even a lot of abuse are taking place even in godly marriages where leaders abusing their wife and pastors abusing their wife, and I'm talking on both sides, both male and female, they abusing, and it's really sad. And there's a lot of reason for that too, right? Because abuse comes, for example, let me share a little bit of my story, right? When sometimes your partner will think that, boy, worse if they know you're who you are, if you're a friendly person, and sometimes you will get married to a person and they will accept your personality at first, but in the long run they will start to see the same personality that they married to as a little bit of issue, because sometimes they will say, oh, you're too friendly with people, but yet you're married to the friendly person. Oh, how you so friendly with everybody, you talk nice to everybody, right? You talk nice to ladies, if you speak so nice to them, how you how you think they're going to react. But before you're married to the person was nice to everybody. You get what I'm saying? Then why is it a problem now? You want the person to change and being stuck up now where he pass persons and don't be polite, etc. You're already married to the person. So if that's a problem now, so I had that experience where my wife, sometimes she said, oh, you're too friendly, you're too friendly with people and even with her relatives and etc. And sometimes she doesn't really comfortable with me being friendly, right? And so at times she would feel like, I don't know if it's a mindset, or if when they feel like they're not getting too much attention. This is one thing I learned to can cause female to be abusive indirectly, right? When they're not getting enough attention. Because I remember I was guilty where I wasn't. I remember I was I remember I was guilty where I was enough attention at one point because get so busy doing other things, and so she start to react, right? You know, it's women thing when they're not getting as much attention. So as soon as I'm on a call now, she's going to feel some form of way, right? And until we reach to a point where conversation break down, a lot of things broke down one point in the marriage where she feel now insecure now, because at first at first she always have it in her mind that, oh, everywhere you go these females always like you. I don't know why they feel like they can walk around me and want to greet you and don't greet me. I said, all right, well, next time we go, come close then, so that they have to greet both of us. I don't have no solution for that. I had to tell her, come close to me at all times, so that if they come and greet me, they have no choice but to greet you. So, until she started to have little insecurities, because she felt like everywhere I go, there always, according to her, there's always a Jezebel trying to approach me. And I remember at one point I went to the hospital where I lift something very heavy. So I pulled something in my back. So I was getting a therapy. And I remember these two nurses, like they trapped me in the hospital room. And I said, no, these are not really nurse that want to help me. These young ladies looking somebody, man. So my wife was there, and like she's hearing their conversation, both of them, like they want to take turns in how to massage my back. But they weren't really massaging my back, like they were up to something until when I was leaving now, one looked at me and said, "Okay, hon, I hope you get well soon." My wife came right in and said, "Hon, what?" She came in, Cressy said, "Hon, what?" So the nurse slightly walk away. So I understand at times when the one partner can feel insecure and jealous. Sometimes it's not because you are going to do something, or you are doing anything, because sometimes they know that even when you are not interested in other person will come after you. So sometimes we must look at that too.
Prophet, I'm gonna stick you up, Let me stick you up, cause me feel like really like we have you hear me? Are you? You hearing me?
Hearing something, I hear some funny noise. What happened?
All right, hold on. Let me just check. Are you hearing me now, Prophet?
Everybody hearing me well?
Yeah. Are you hearing me?
What's going on? Hello?
You hearing me? All right, jump out and jump back in, Prophet. Jump out and jump back in. All right. All right, so while Prophet get it together to drive, let me see if he's here now.
I'm hearing some monster sound. I don't know what happened. Can anybody
are
fix
you
the
here
mic,
now?
please?
Can you hear
I
me?
don't know.
All right, so while we we put this together, we have to remember I think there needs to be a balance of the conversation, and he's coming back to finish the story. But I wanted to say to him that we have to balance the story. In a relationship, trust is something that is built. It is constructed over time. It's my attitude. It's what I do in the relationship that builds that trust. And so, I can't just have a culture that I used to have. Used to have a lot of girls I road, and so my wife must just understand, so me have a girl. While I'm calling on her to have that level up, I can't treat it like me not have no respect for her. That in itself becomes abuse for the beautiful queen. And just want to establish that. That's not what we're endorsing. I do understand though that there are some women who can go overboard with the thing. And so it becomes power and control. So, there's a difference between demonstrating a sense of respect, and demanding respect and demanding honor, which I believe every woman should actually demand, every spouse should actually demand. I think there's a difference when we begin to overdo the thing, and I think that's right where we are at. But the bottom line, we're going to run back to the central part of this evening. We want to look at how do we deal with abuse, and we only have 20 minutes to wrap up, and we want to end off today. I think the long and short of what is happening, what I wanted Prophet to point out was the fact that his wife would have called the officers on him, would have taken out some restraining order on him. Once in that state, once that's done, he would not be able again to to enter into certain fields, because once you do, they're going to run a record, and we know that thing is going to point out. So the abuse in that is that you're really just not just got justice for how you feel, but it's affecting how this person will proceed in the future. All right. So, but let's get back to how do we deal with abuse? And so now we have looked at different ways how we can detect. We talk about the whole emotional aspect. We talk about the financial. We talk about the neglect aspect. We talk about not having any respect. Now we know what this is. There's a popular story now that is on social media and it's buzzing everywhere. This Nigerian woman who was murdered by her husband, spouse. I don't want to say allegedly, but I still have to say allegedly, since I don't know if the court case has been gone yet. But the person is charged. All right. I don't want to try right. I don't want to try the case before the judge. So I'll just say allegedly at this particular time to be safe. No, my problem is I was listening to her friend share this evening, Lady Paul. And her friend was talking about a time when she came to Laos and she was Lagos and she was traveling for a while, right? No food to eat. And she said that she called her sister and said, prepare something because our friend, that's my friend, she's coming here and let her come by. And when the food done and she was on her way about 15 minutes to the airport to go pick her up, the husband said that she can't stay with them. And that's again, you know, and that's not about being concerned about the person, or you know, it's not about you know, being concerned about their safety. It's about being all the way at your yard. Your wife left the house, now have nothing to eat, and you can look on her and tell her, say she now go this up, but you don't have no alternative. The friend said she waited, and he went on to say that she have to go to a hotel. And then she said she was disturbed to the point that she never have the money to even go to the hotel. She have to turn up with the hungry self and wait. And she on the phone and beg, say, since we prepared, it's no trouble, it's no problem. We can accommodate her. Let her come. And this guy said, no, wait till me send the money come. And whose money was it though? It was her money. So why is it that she get locked out and not have no access to money? And what I'm trying to say is, we're talking about these things now because I want women who are listening this, and if this sound like your story or even near to your story, something must happen. You must do something about it. It's not normal. And one thing is going to lead to another. And the night come, and they said that the place that they got a hotel final, because you have to book hotel way in advance. And the man insists that she have to turn up at the airport and find. You don't know, after no travel one long flight or you're tired and you just want to go put on your foot and make it rest. And someone is going to let you know Monday, somebody who sit down and watch them TV and them foot up, I tell you, say that you have to do. Right? This is what we're talking about when we talk about power and the whole matter of controlling people. And so, you know, it wasn't even a real hotel. it was a booty call place. And that's where the man sanctioned for her to go. And as I listen to that story, you know, I'm thinking all sorts of things. Here's a woman who is openly being controlled, being abused. She's being held against her will. She's a hostage. She has been captured. She has been kidnapped. She's now enslaved. She can't say no. And she's there saying to the friend, oh, I just don't want any problem. Anytime you hear one woman say, I talk out the road. I'm helping some church people. And you hear them say, I don't want to cause no problem. What kind of problem you have to cause? That's your safety. That's your health. You're not a child. You are in a relationship, not to be bossed around and pushed around. You are somebody pitney. Good God. On top of that, as I listened to the interview with the friend, is that she couldn't eat nothing. He have to wait. The man send the dead money to play for the booty place. And he have to wait and lobby for some more money out of her money to go and send the money come. And when the money come, the taxi said them don't run at that particular time, I think. But the driver decided to basically appease her because he understood the situation and take the woman and drive around. I look on roadside, I look food in the night. That is abuse. So there were a lot of other things, and that's why I started our discussion talking about how do we detect abuse this evening. Because there were a lot of other things that was leading up to the fact that the children couldn't openly speak. They can't comment. They were under the whole control. Someone said the children were hypnotized. They had to represent the father and what the father stood for. And people are trying to convince me that nobody knew. You know, that no one knew. Why? People can suffer in silence. But I refuse to think that if you're interacting with people, that people cannot detect that something is out of line. People may have not made it their business. But you must realize, because these kind of control mean you can determine who can visit. Mother and sister can't visit.
Not just sister, twin sister.
Twin sister can't visit. These are abuse. So, yeah. Now let's talk about how do we deal with the abuse thing. That's the part. What's the first step to do? Because sometimes people think that we're calling, and sometimes maybe this woman held on because of the shame that would come from the marriage, and maybe thinking that she have failed her family values. Nobody wants to be the one with a broken marriage, especially when you used to talk and feel excited about it. So what I want to just let persons know, dealing with these issues doesn't mean automatic divorce. There are a lot of things that are in place. When you decide to speak up and say, this is not okay, I can't settle for this, that's the first step of dealing with this. When you decide to seek the intervention of someone, get somebody else involved, this is also dealing with the matter of dealing with the whole issue of the whole matter of abuse. So let me throw it out there. Lady Nelly, come on back in and reason with me now. Now a woman is listening on this program and is perhaps saying, based on what I hear, I am actually being abused. What is this woman expected to do? What's your humble advice to this person?
Okay, I'm not the professional counselor here, so I'm giving you my humble advice. Again, if someone opens up to you about them being abused, that's the biggest step to me, because that person is now admitting that I am in danger and I need help, right? And so from my point of view, what I would encourage that person to do is we have to help that person to find safety for one. And in finding that safety, something that we cannot do is make the decision for the person, because you don't want to continue disempowering that person. You want that person to be able to be confident to find the help and to speak out. So you offer your advice, right? You lead the person to the safety, to the person or the group or the organization that can offer the help, right? But that person is going to have to reach out and accept the help themselves, because at the end of the day, they often say you lead the donkey to the water, but you can't force the donkey to drink it, and sometimes we also have to remember that as much no abuse is okay. And obviously when people come and confide in you, there are ways we're going to react, especially from a Jamaican background, but we have to learn to try our very best to refrain from throwing ourselves into say what me wouldn't do that. I mean, I take that things like that, So when the person is confiding, and it could be a relative, your friend, someone in the church, we have to remember to take a stand from. I'll go back to the scripture, from a sound mind, because it's so easy to wrap up with the emotion, Rev, and throw the person out there and probably push them in further danger, right? And from my my point, not being the professional, I'd encourage us, let us not be the counselor in the situation, especially if these are people we hold to our heart. We refer them to those who can help. Because once the emotions started sliding, again, we can lead that person in further danger than the safety that we're supposed to be helping them to find. Another thing I really, really, really want, and as Rev said, that how is it that no one saw that this woman was being abused based on the claims around the situation? And a part of that, this woman was a well known person, right? A well known woman coming out of a big church. And clearly, we can see that the whole idea of abuse has not been even addressed in churches. How many? There is. I was reading an article and it says, from a study, it's only 1% of churches within the UK actually address abuse from the platform. 1%. So, and that is shocking. And they're saying that sometimes in the studies, because the church leadership is a male dominated place, so they're saying sometimes it's being overlooked in that sense. So we have to create that safe space within the church for people to be able to talk, for people to find the group. And again, as we mentioned it earlier, if we are not qualified and equipped to do it as a church, because sometimes when people say we like to spiritualize everything, if we're being led by the Spirit, then the Spirit is going to lead us to help. That's the purpose of the Holy Spirit, to lead us to help. So when someone say we're spiritualizing this whole thing and just sending people to pray, God is supposed to show up and give the answer. So there must be a next step. So we need to grow and move on from, yes, we get on our knees, but we need to take the next step for it to be practical, because that's what's going to make up the whole help and support, right? So listen to the person as much as you can. You help the person to find the right support group and get that person to safety. Never throw yourself in and you throw in with your emotion trying to solve the situation, because sometimes it can lead that person into more danger, right? And again, the church organization has to be more accountable for these things.
Listen to me, man. I am going to come on in now and say, well said, and thank you, there, for just shedding some light on what we can do and the steps that we need to take. I'm going to just retract one part of your statement, because we are not going to agree with the sexists and the feminists who blame everything on patriarchal society, and that might be a factor, but that can't be true. I believe that the real man them not support no woman getting beaten. Why? Because we have mother and sister, and none of it no one no boy lick with mother. Or you must say ma sour. So I don't, I think what we do is we lack the perhaps the skill, the education to address the matter. And then I think that we don't have training in conflict resolution and all of these things. And some of us really just think that if we stop talk about it and give it some time, the thing will actually get better. And sometimes we black people like to mind our own business. It's a lot of things, cultural dynamic, but definitely not not a sexist kind of thing. It's just what we face as people. And so there's a lot of things that we need to change. And then in this modern era where we call everything a demon, it's the demon that is hitting you, not one demon looking at that man or that woman or that person who is affecting you. And that is the demon you need to deal with. And sometimes it's not only praying for that demon the left, sometimes you have to move out and go find yourself. And that doesn't mean that you're going to, I'm not advocating for divorce. I'm advocating for you to get to a space of safety, get to somewhere where you can talk. There was a quick comment that came in from Kedin that sometimes you tell your friends, well, Kedin, you have to go find some new friends. Maybe you need to link me. You need to add some new friends. The friend them on your list, them should have gone long time. Because one of my first thing is when my friend tells me that he or she is being abused, I want to know if them safe, right? Me no business about nothing else. Me not try hear about how the thing they must fix up, and I don't care about that part. I want to know say good. Yeah. Yeah, so you need some new friends. So just look on a list and see if you can figure out some good one and find some good one. You know, just dash with them one day. Them no mean you're no good in the first place.
Sure.
Yeah. All right. Good. So that's the thing that we need to do. Let me just take a few comments. We're running out of time this evening. We know say this thing I have to do like a part 2 because what I'm gonna tell you.
Rona is saying
there's nothing wrong with trying to make your
marriage work, but you must be able to
work
know when
enough is enough.
Something that is broken cannot be healed overnight. The bandage only covers the wounds.
Excellent. So and right. So don't just sit down in your house and not do anything. You know, get up and go out there. Take steps. When you're sick, you don't just pray about the cut you get. I mean, you go to the doctor, of course. and there's a space for it. Prayer is very good. Prayer is number one. Christ is number one healer. But so is it that Christ has given us sense and wisdom to how we talk and what we do. So let's see if we can get some help, people. All right. We are
and I want to say this to Hun. You know, sometimes we in the church, the way we react to situations, because if somebody's marriage seem like it not working out, so you have some persons who will be like, oh, them marriage not work out, them couldn't keep them married, you know,
and then just married where they are.
The critics and that kind of thing. And then sometimes these are the things that people, you know, trying to keep the image, you know, knowing that the church has disbelief and, you know, that kind of thing. And Lady Paula put something in there saying that it was pure religion. So, you know, her faith says that divorce is a no. So I can't get divorced. So she kept going and, you know, experiencing all of the control and the abuse and all of that, but kept going. And so we have to also look at ourselves, you know, when somebody seems like they're going through a broken situation, what is our response, you know, and that kind of thing, because it helps to turn off persons, you know, openness too. And one of the things we need to understand, yes, we love marriages. We know God, you know, the marriage is compared to, you know, Christ and the church, us, you know. So it's something that God really takes there. But at the end of the day, we have to understand that, listen, not giving a timing. At the end of the day, we must understand that our first priority is to save the people and not the marriage. All right? So when we save them, then we can work out the marriage. All right? So true. We are here to help people. When we help the people in the situation, then we can move to the next step. So we have to be careful with the words that we say, the tongue. I tell you, let us be careful.
Ladies and gentlemen, I agree with me, so we have to touch the topic again.
I think I have to have a part 2.
Yeah, man.
We have to have a part 2 because even though we need to come to the conclusion of the matter, we can't even touch the conclusion tonight, because I was about to ask the question, is it that we lack the tools, the capabilities, or to deal with problems affecting marriages in terms of abuse or deviant behavior, or is it a result of hypocrisy or politics? Because I can draw to conclusion that it is not that we lack the resources. I can say that one, it is because of hypocrisy and politics, both locally and in the church, right? Because if you look at politics and hypocrisy in the body of Christ, whenever persons are going through so much hell in their marriages, even a lot of leaders, and the reason why a lot of them are afraid to say it, even to share, is if they say it, the first thing you're going to hear coming, how you preach to people and you have problem, and how you are this person in society and you have problem in marriage. You have been counseling people about marriages, and counseling people with problem and you have problem. So one, a lot of person look at leaders and think they are superhuman and they can't have no issue in relationship. Their marriage has to be perfect, right? The next thing is this. A lot of persons are afraid to speak and say what is taking place in their marriage. Is one, because they have the fear that maybe their leadership position will be taken away from them, or they will be neglected, isolated, etc. And a lot of persons know in their heart, in themselves, they know that the marriage that they are in, it's not going to work. But the fear is because a lot of us are a part of certain fellowship denomination that don't believe in divorce. And so if a minister divorce, a pastor divorce, our leaders divorce them wife, they can't stay in the fellowship. So I know pastor colleagues now that I used to have when I was in the Assemblies of God that have their wife who have left, gone with other men and come back, and he have to live with all those hell, because if he divorce his wife, he will not be able to preach in the Assemblies of God anymore. So there are a lot of persons have those things dealing with, that they are married but they are going through hell, a lot of abuse, and they are afraid to leave the marriage, because if they leave the marriage, they will be looked at in a different way, and they can end up even lose their post. So this will have to have a part two. So it's a lot of things to deal with.
Yeah, it's a wide enough topic, and I think we have to look at addressing this topic all together again at another time. Definitely. But we'll just put at it though. While I do hear the points that you make about the whole matter of politics and hypocrisy, those are just some of the issues. There's a wider problem that we do have. Those are just two issues, and sometimes in the case of politics, it's affecting leaders. Leaders does not constitute majority of the people who are, and it's not just in church. It's just general. So I definitely have to add there that we, as a culture, as a people, with a Jamaican background or wherever, that many of us have not been equipped with even anger management, basic conflict resolution tools. Like there's a way we don't have to fight the thing out, we don't have to argue the thing out. And we think that if more people in the body of Christ, in fact, this is why we have a thing where we teach in Bible college called pastoral care. And pastoral care is where the minister learns to develop a team around himself who can help him to administer, because pastoral is not just about preaching, it's about catering to the needs of the individual in the church. And one of the needs that we're seeing here is a matter of broken marriages, and you need a wide enough team, and that can't be pastor alone. It has to be that we have to equip and sharpen the persons within the congregation, that they themselves can help to provide this level of support. We also have to engage professional counseling therapists to come in and help us. So of course we do need the tools as well. But this evening is a long time. It's 5 minutes past the hour, and I do know I tell my panelists them, so we're not go long. All right, so I'm not going to I'm not going to rush it this evening, but next week I think we can have a part one, this very same topic, because we need to look at how we address this kind of issue. So before we go, though, let me just give Lady Paula her 2 minutes so she can add to what we have concluded already, what Prophet and Nelly have addressed in terms, and Daniel have addressed in terms of what we need to do to make this marriage thing, or what persons need to do if they're in an abusive relationship.
I believe, like I said before, that safety is number one in all cases. And even if the person is going to leave the marriage, he or she has to leave in a way where the abuser doesn't know, because it's very dangerous. And that's why a lot of women don't leave, or even men don't leave, because there there's a thing called fear there, and they don't leave because of fear of being killed. But then at the same time, you can also stay and be killed in that relationship. So fear is a thing, like you're afraid of the unknown. Sometimes it's fear because you don't know how you're going to take care of the children and yourself, so you are afraid. Or if it's a man who is seeking his documents, because I've seen it, and a lot of these people, they don't know that there's a thing called VAWA, where they can get help, from the immigration, where they're for domestic abuse. So there's a lot of things that are involved here when it comes to leaving. You can leave, so you don't have to stay because you're being manipulated to stay. I mean, the case of this poor woman who died, allegedly killed by her husband, the fact remains is that we see that she was fearful of him, and we see the psychological effect that it had on her. Her mind was now controlled by him. Even though she was singing so anointed, her voice, she was controlled by this person in all ways, because remember, she's all the way where she's at, and yet she had to call him to tell him that she needs money to be sent to her. So you see that she was totally controlled. Why she didn't have a little saving money for herself? I mean, come on, as women, we don't have to hide our money, but we should have something stashed, because even sometimes a man will come and borrow a little stash. And that's true. So we should always have a stash. I heard of the incident where they coming home from church, and the man didn't like what she said, and he kicked her out of the car, and she was robbed. Her phone was taken away. No, that should never happen to anyone at all. So you have to choose safety at all times. Make sure that you have a plan. Do not leave when the person is there. Do not leave. I repeat, do not leave. And as a person who is trying to help, do not go there and try to help when that abuser is there, because then the abuser will kill you and also kill the victim. So you have to have a plan. And one of the things that I have here is that create a safety plan with a trusted individual, an emergency phone number, a safe house phone number, money. That's important, even if it's $20. You know what I mean? Have that put somewhere. That's a part of the safety plan. Another thing, keep a record of the events, that whenever it's said and done, you have something to show that you are actually in an abusive relationship. You have pictures to show. You have things that he or she said. You stuff like that, because you have to be able to get a restraining order, and you're gonna go to court eventually. All right. Another thing, separate yourself from the situation. Seek out a shelter or a friend. And I know this is not, I think I have a few minutes to do this, but always seek out help from a friend. Okay? You got to have someone who you can talk to. And the friend may not call the number for you, but nothing is wrong if that friend calls the number. Because if someone comes to you and said, listen, I'm being abused, that person is asking you for help. In the case of this woman, she begged on her knees for them not to tell the pastor and other people. But in normal circumstances, a lot of times people call the police here in America. It doesn't have to be their business. They hear domestic violence, someone is beating on someone consistently, they're going to call the police. So we may say, oh, we don't want to get involved, but we can call the police. They don't have to know it's you. So it's something that can be done. Something can be done. All right, start a healing journal for those who are going through the abuse. Just start writing down stuff, praying and all of those things, but just don't pray alone. Pack and pray. Make sure you have your bag packed somewhere and hidden, that when that day comes and you see a way of escape, then you can escape with your children. Do not leave your children, because that's when the abuse is going to get worse. Don't leave your children. And I could go on and on and on, but I'm going to stop right there. We can't hear you.
Ooh, sorry. Okay, I was saying that I got some very able to speak on my platform this evening.
Speakers.
Speakers. So we have touched this topic, but gently. We're gonna come back next week and look some more at it because I think we have to spend more time deliberating now about what are the solutions. Right now that we have looked at what they are, how to detect them, we now need to come up with a way, just to be able to detect these and to find out what they are, and also to find a way to help people to get out of these. I love everything. Just to look at some of the comments quickly. Sometimes the persons, I'm just looking, sometimes the persons being abused don't think they will be supported, so they will suffer in silence. That's true, and that's unfortunate. Granny say you must have your get vexed money. I mean, I like how the woman must have talk up, so I'm to the man them. Body just want to run away, body just want to escape. But yeah, I understand from a woman.
It goes for men as well, Ref. It's the same thing.
So we must start paint we as the tyranny,
Yes.
We are the tyrant. So
The tyrant, yes.
so we can't hurry up and left and escape. We here now, and we not vex. Tell my wife decided me I thought about she want her stash. I don't know if she have stash. but we heard. And of course, I'm going to encourage women who are in like situation, get to safety, get to help. Fine, it doesn't matter how people view you, get help. And I want to say to my brothers out there who are going through the abuse that are coming from women, sometimes they're well nice and brawling, you know, have a stung and take it either. And you're no mama man.
Yes, exactly.
You're not mama man, don't take it, You get some help. Tell the woman them so they're miserable.
Yeah, everybody get to seek help. Yes.
Seize your conversation with grace. Watch how you talk and what you're actually saying. Get. Why is that laugh beside me so loud? All right, well, get help. All right, and I just want to encourage this conversation to continue in our churches. Women meeting. These are some of the things I don't know if you are discussing a woman meeting. Men, the very same thing. Time we stung and jump and shout every time in a men's meeting. We need to stung and all a reason about these things because you have some brothers who are suffering in silence. Same thing, women, we holler too much. Gotta tell you, you don't drop on a sheet and roll too much. Sometimes people have some real issues. Demons and devil real, but so is the kick on the box that people are go. Sometimes we need to pause and will talk, will reason and help the people so we can have the conversation.
And faith connection is staying on the call me coming on.
Yes, and look, come in a circle. We have a big family.
We have a big family in PB that is very supportive, and we also have the counselor.
Excellent, and that now leads me to type in the chat quickly our link to our counseling page, and we want to drop it in the chat because we know that there might be persons who have listened to us, and maybe you just want a diagnosis. You want somebody to help you diagnose your situation. Am I being abused? Or am I going through abuse? And gentlemen, I'm not call with a man. I'm a call a reason. We know some of vocal and no man not type in a chat because they don't want a woman go look upon them a certain way. Well, call woman, make a reason. Full out of link us and make us down a reason. And we'll tell you if it is abuse. And we'll tell you where to get your get vex money. So you can
Rev, can I say one thing?
Yeah, go ahead, please.
One thing when it comes to counseling, if they're in an abusive relationship, they get to understand why they're staying. They get to understand other things that are going on with them, why they ended up in there. Because sometimes it's not just the first abusive relationship. Sometimes there are many other relationships that had in the past where they were abused. And now here again, they're in another relationship. So it becomes a cycle. So you want to break that cycle because if you don't break that cycle, you're going to continue going in that way.
You see a lady run, lady run.
Yeah, it's true because a lot of times some persons just accustomed to getting abused that they don't know anything better. And if you're not careful, you can develop such a low self-esteem. And a lot of persons have developed low self-esteem as a result of abuse until they reach to a point where they just start to accept abuse as it's a norm, as if it's a norm. So they move from one relationship to another and they just accept abuse. And it's like, oh, that's what I used to. Oh gosh, it should not have been like that though. But if you're in abuse, ladies and gentlemen, don't accept abuse. Do not accept any form of abuse. You are better than that. You are more valuable than that. You are fearfully and wonderfully made. And if you're in a relationship and you're not treated like a queen, do not settle for less. If you're in a relationship and you're not being treated as a king, don't accept anything less. Right? Do not accept anything less. Right? Don't let no one treat you like a garbage or like and throw you around like a trash. Do not accept it any at all.
Yeah, of course. I honestly real man don't know how to treat woman. I don't watch it in a man. I don't just not meet the real one. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is where we're going to close down the curtains this week. We want to thank you for joining in the discussion. You guys were very active. You made the discussion quite interesting. You shared some great points, some of which we were not able to read all of them out online, but thank you so much for those comments. Rest assured that people will be going back and looking at your conversation and just knowing the impact that you have had. So I just want to just thank you so much. And I'm conscious that Lady Trinell is all the way in a foreign and it's now 18 past 12. So,
and some people
me and my wife,
dinner yet.
Me and my wife nocturnal, but me I gonna release her so she can't nobody neglect her husband. Coming and want nobody get no pot cover tonight. So I don't want to neglect go on. So we're going to let her go. And me know say Lady P no cook no food yet, I mean, I don't want nobody can drive a skirt tail.
Yeah, you hear this? You're oxtail, not chicken back.
I'd call her. Yeah. And profit, me no want to tell nobody your favorite meat, so. I'm not telling nobody your favorite meat. So we're gonna wrap it here. Thank you so much for your time. Please remember to log on next week, same time, 4 p.m. Jamaica time, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and 10 p.m. if you're right here in the UK. And we'll continue the talk and the conversation. Come ready to talk, and let's have that level of discussion. All right, so with that said, we want to thank you for your time. God bless you. Take care. Blessings to you. Rest. Thank you so much, my panel. You did a fantastic job. Yes. You were a great sport. You keep our company. You share, you add your information, and we are better off because of what you share. That said, we want to say pleasant night to the rest of you, and God bless Uno. I begin to